Every athlete has an opponent. It's the one you train for, it's the one you prepare for every single day. But what if there's another opponent you can't see, one that doesn't play by the rules, and one that's in your own mind? And this opponent's called perfectionism, which sounds good, right? To strive for flawless performance and leave no room for error. But here's the truth. Perfectionism isn't your friend. It's the voice that haunts you when you fall short. It's the weight that's holding you back when you're giving it your all. How do I know this? Because I'm a perfectionist too. Well, I like to think I'm a recovering perfectionist. Sounds better. But here's the good news. There's a mindset that you can have where you take all of the drives for having high standards and great performance and rid yourself of all the fears that hold you back that are associated with perfectionism. And if you can do this, you will be ahead of 99% of athletes. And in this video, I'm going to show you why perfectionism is good for you, also how it is holding you back from some of your best performances, and a brand new mindset that you can adopt for future success. But welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, I'm Lewis Hatchett, mindset coach for athletes. I'm also a former professional cricketer in the Great Isles of the UK. I'm also a master's student at Bangor University in performance psychology, host of the MindStrong podcast. We've rebranded the podcast. It's got a new name. And the creator of the MindStrong Sport app. Loads going on. If you haven't done already and you get value from these videos, do hit the like button. Also hit the subscribe. Only 88% of you are actually subscribed to this channel, so you're missing out on knowing when the new videos drop. And if you do that, you can hit the bell so that you get a notification straight to your device and you become one of the first to watch these videos. So be first to check everything out. All right, into this video. All right, so what is perfectionism? Ultimately, perfectionism is a personality trait. It comes from a variety of different areas, and Hewitt Flett found that there were three forms of perfectionism, three sources that it comes from. First up is your self-orientated perfectionism. This is your own standards, your own drives, your own willingness to have these high standards on yourself. Where that comes from can be from a multitude of different places. It can be from your parents, it can be from your friends, your family, it can be from just you and having a high drive for wanting things to be at a high standard. And so your self-orientated perfectionism is coming from within, it is from you. The second is socially prescribed perfectionism. Now, this is essentially the external world, the social environment, encouraging you to be perfect. If you think about it, it's like the Instagram effect. You look on Instagram, you see all of the people on there and your friends, your family, the people you follow, just looking great, doing amazing things. And you think, okay, well, they're living a perfect lifestyle. I need to be perfect. And it has that effect on you to drive your perfectionism up and your want to be perfect. It can also come from teams and environments that you're in if you're playing a sport. If your team has a need to be perfect or it's encouraging you to have high standards, that can drive your own perfectionism as well. The third is other-orientated perfectionism. Now, this is your want for someone else to be perfect. This is usually found in leaders, coaches, people who are looking after others or want to place high standards onto other people. You might even find it in relationships. Ultimately, you're asking other people to meet your high standards or you're asking them to have a high standard, and that is another form of perfectionism. And so with these three forms of perfectionism, it was then distilled into two higher themes by two academics called Stoeber and Otto, who essentially came up with these themes of either perfectionistic strivings or perfectionistic concerns. Perfectionistic strivings are essentially all the good parts of perfectionism. These are the high standards that you have. This is the fact that you're motivated, you're driven, creative. The perfectionistic strivings are the good parts of perfection. This is what you want. You want people to have these things, because if you want to have high achievement and you want to be good at what you do, you kind of need those attributes. So having a perfectionistic in that sense, that's a good thing. However, perfectionism can cost you, and that's where perfectionistic concerns come in. And this is a landscape that a lot of perfectionistic people find themselves in, because you do things such as you doubt your actions, you perhaps fear making mistakes, you don't take a step until everything is organized and in a line. And then with that, you procrastinate over that step that you're going to take. So it can take you ages to do it. And the more that you spend time procrastinating, it's because you have such high unrealistic expectations of your performance that when you're looking around and you're thinking, I want to go for this, you have such a high standard of yourself that you're not willing to take that step, because you're thinking, well, if I take that step, what if it's just not good enough? What if it's not at the standard? What if it's not perfect? And so you find yourself in this paradox where you have such high standards that you're striving to go after, but you're unwilling to take the steps towards those high standards because you doubt and fear that the next move that you make or the move that you make could not be perfect enough, could not be good enough, so it's not reaching the standards that you want. And so you may not do it through procrastination, and you wait ages until you make that next step. And for perfectionists, this is a nightmare. I mean, I've spent so much time living in this place where you have to constantly get ready for that step you're about to take because you want to go and do everything, but you're just so worried about the ridicule, whether it's from the outside world or even your self-judgment that you're going to give. And ultimately, there is a way out, and it's with a new mindset that you can come up with. And this was from an academic who I've had on the podcast, Patrick Goudreau, and he came up with a concept called excellencism. And I love this because it's ultimately about striving for excellence. You are looking to find excellence and not perfection. Looking for excellence is about taking all of those perfectionistic strivings, the good parts of perfectionism, and kind of disregarding the perfectionistic concerns. Now, they may linger, they may be around, but when you choose to strive for excellence, it's a different framework and a mindset that you're looking when you're going to achieve, perform, execute, whatever it is that you're going into. So what that might look like is if you're a footballer and you're going into a match, you might say to yourself, in order for me to be successful today, I want to score a goal. That might be an unrealistic expectation because you may not be put into a position to score a goal. To have an excellence mindset, you would go into it by saying, today's game will be a good game if I get myself into as much space as possible to give myself the opportunity to score. I know I may not score, but I'm going to try and find space. Ultimately, you're changing the parameters of what your success looks like. And this subtle difference comes down to focusing on more of process rather than outcome, and over controllables rather than things that are not controllable, your uncontrollables. Things that are in your control are ultimately your energy, your attention, your focus, your mindset. But the things that are not in your control are things like the result, what your opponent does, the referee's decisions, the environment, the weather. There are a bunch of uncontrollables that you can find in your sport. And so if you go into your next performance and you're only focusing on the uncontrollables, you're going to find yourself in this high level of anxiety. It's going to be frustrating because you're not able to focus on something that is in your control that ultimately you can influence. So when you get to your next performance, do this. Before you play, before you go into your performance, write down, what will today's performance look like if it's to be excellent? Again, it doesn't have to be perfect. You recognize that there's not going to be everything gotten right, but it's focusing on what will be excellent. And that is, again, your controllables, your mindset, your energy, your movement. It can be anything that is in your control. So write down one thing so that when you finish that game and that performance and you look and you go, the result didn't go my way, it wasn't the best thing, but did I thing? Did I strive for excellence? When you do that, you can start feeling better about yourself. And there's probably one other thing that I would just add into this is to make this a reminder for you by creating a mantra in your sport. It could be something as simple as saying, today doesn't need to be perfect, or I'm going to strive for excellence. Something as simple as that is just a mantra that you can have in your mind to remind you when you're doubting yourself, when you're concerned over the mistake you're about to make and you're maybe not willing to take that next step, that by saying that thing will actually bump you into action. It'll move you into feeling like, okay, I'm going to overcome this. I'm going to strive for excellence. But understanding your perfectionism is all about awareness of your mind. And you can do that by using the MindStrong Sport app, the mental gym to help you strengthen your mind on and off the field. Join now by heading over to the iOS and Android stores by clicking the link in the description of this video to download the app and get started with your subscription today. All right, there we have it. That's perfectionism, this hidden secret opponent. But there's also another one that's going on. And if you want to understand that, then you're going to want to watch this video next.